Well, it was an interesting day in the sense that a lot of refereeing decisions were heavily debated, and I saw a lot of the tweets on social media. So let's take a look at some of the more contentious issues that we saw today, and maybe take it all the way back to the Sunwolves Stormers game. And the first one that we saw was a bit of a communication breakdown. There was a try which was disallowed, and it was then referred to the TMO. The TMO came back with a decision, but it was overruled, or at least not heard, I suppose, lost in translation. But let's take a listen at, after what was a wonderful finish, what happens.
Line.
Not clearly offside. No,
okay.
Offside.
Okay.
You was a try.
Okay, so no try. I'm going to my advantage for penalty. Okay. No try. Captain.
No, what no? No, what no?
No, I think that's where there's the translation error there was huge. So when they say lost in translation, I think that's a very good example of that. You got a Argentinian referee, Japanese TMO, and what he said no clear offside.
Yes.
But the Argentine guy just said no. And he said you may award try. But the Argentine guy didn't listen to that, so then he thought he said no try.
Which is a pity, and I understand the mix of languages on the field, but what do we expect after something like that happens, Nick? Do we expect that the TMO must just continuously be on the buzzer with the referee or with the other match officials on the side of the field to say, big mistake is happening?
We're not sure what language the other match officials speak, but both of them are speaking their second language. I mean, the Japanese guy is speaking English, which might be not to be his second language, but it's certainly a foreign language. And the referee, being an Argentinian, Spanish is his first language. So there's a lot of confusion there. And I think communication in these situations are absolutely vital. You can't have a situation where that clearly the TMO said no clear evidence of offsides. You can award the try in his bumbled fashion. And then the referee, who has difficulties with his comms at the best of times, just heard no and didn't really catch what else, so he thought it was no try. Yeah. And in a game like this, they got the bonus point, the Stormers. There are no repercussions. But say, for example, that's a winning try and that you desperately need those points to finish with a home semi-final, it could be crucial. So communication is vital. If we're having TMOs and we're having referees, we're having assistant referees, they've got to be able to communicate with themselves in a language that they all understand.
But also, even when he got it wrong, what the TMO still could have done, when he saw that the guy was going to not award the try, go back to him and say, it is actually a try. But because he's inexperienced and probably not confident to be able to do that, the TMO, he just didn't go back to the referee.
We're not trying to attack referees, and I think it's probably one of the most impossible things to do is to properly referee a game over 80 minutes in the modern era. Ashwin, we saw another one in the Kings-Lions game, and we spoke to Mark Lawrence just to clarify the law, where Jaco Kriel had kicked the ball out of Louis Scheerder's hands. And I suppose what it comes down to, let's take a quick look at it first, is whether the ball was kicked out of Scheerder's hands or whether Scheerder passed the ball into Jaco Kriel's boot, which seemed a little bit odd. But take another look at the replay, which will come, I think, after this.
And the difference between these two is because here you could see, I mean, there the boot goes, and that to me look as if though, and in fact from this angle you can see that the ball is not necessarily out of his hand. You can see that when the ball touches his boot, Jaco Kriel's boot, it was still in the hand. So it wasn't a case of it was passed into. And the difference between the two examples is that in the first example, the ref did not necessarily disagree with the TMO. It was a lost in communication. In this instance, we find that the referee, together with the assistant referee on the day, disagreed with the decision taken, or with the rather recommendation from the TMO. And I think that to me in this instance is where. But now again, as you said, Mark Lawrence mentioned that, you know, if he kicked the ball out of his hand, that's penalizable.
Yes.
However, the interpretation was that it was passed into his boot. And again, if you look at that, it can be easily missed. So I think one has to also allow there the space for the interpretation from the refs on the actual field. But they did disagree, and the ref actually didn't go with, I think it was Sean Faltzman, the TMO at the time.
Yeah, so at least we do have clarification, or clarity rather, legally what is required there. And unfortunately, I suppose at the heat of the moment, and it happens also quickly, it's all about the intent of the kicker. We remember Siya Kolisi got involved in an issue where he was he yellow carded? Red carded?
Yeah,
yellow carded for kicking the ball out of somebody's hands. We also saw in the Cheetahs-Sharks match, Kuni Oosthuizen, and this got raised the ire of a lot of our viewers, who was yellow carded for a dangerous tackle. And I suppose we are going to be talking about dangerous tackles, high tackles throughout the season. And the only reason for that, Nick, is that we were told that the refs would be consistently strict. So the moment it looks high, you're off the field. It's just unfortunate, I suppose, for Kuni in that he probably wasn't aiming terribly high. His intent was to definitely go in there hard, though. I think you can see it in his eyes.
I think the yellow card was justified. I think he jumps into the tackle and...
It was to the shoulder. Yes. Therefore, I would go for penalty only.
I've seen enough on the field to make sure to know that it was on the head. So I'm happy to go yellow.
Okay.
You see, I agree with Yaka. Yaka was there. He couldn't see. Obviously, the television screen wasn't great, and he said, I can't see clearly. The TMO said that the arm hit the shoulder, not the head. But according to Yaka, on the field, what he saw enough on the field to suggest that that tackle was high and dangerous. Yeah. And when you look at Kuni, he actually comes off his feet. He leaps into the tackle, and the player is coming down, but it's not a considered tackle. It's not taking the safety of the ball carrier into consideration. And World Rugby has been very strict about that. We have to penalise with a penalty, and generally you start off with a yellow card. And then with force, you go to a red card.
And also, I think with that one, the good word to use is reckless.
Yeah.
It was a reckless tackle, sort of, like you said, off his feet. He's not really in a good position to make the tackle. Yeah. And that's what they want to cut down on. So, at the end of the day, I think it was the right decision to give the yellow card. And we want to get rid of that.
What you're saying is think about the technique before you make the hit.
And I just have a question on that, and perhaps, Nick, you've got the answer to this. In an instance like this, whose decision ultimately is the one that's more superior? So the ref...
The ref on the field has the final decision. The advice is given by an assistant ref and by the TMO, but it's advice only. The referee is the final decider of fact, and if he comes out and says he feels that it needs a yellow card, that's his prerogative.
Because we did have a bit of a laugh about that as well, where paper says, no, you can't really see on the big screen. Then the advice comes from the TMO.
So no, I could see it.
Then he said, no, actually, I could see. But it was the first time that he saw a live action that he made the decision on.
And a big thank you to Gavin Wrench, who sent me the tweet speaking about Eddie Quirk, and that's back to the Sunwolf Stormers match. It's something that unfortunately went by unnoticed, not by the referees, not by us even, and we watched the game. Take a quick look at Eddie Quirk as he gets up right there.
Elbow into the head.
Elbow to the head.
Elbow into the head again.
But wait, there's more.
Knee into the head. That is unacceptable.
It is. He will probably be cited for that. But it is unfortunate in that the game moves so fast that so many of these decisions don't get seen right on the spot.
But it shouldn't even be probably. That should be a straight, once that's seen, that must be, I almost want to say a minimum of 4 weeks. Yeah. In that it is, totally unacceptable. It's exactly what we don't want in rugby. We want to play it hard. But we don't want anything like that in rugby.
You see, he got cleaned out.
Deliberate intent.
Angry that he was cleaned out. The frustration was too much for him. And the elbow came. There was the absolute deliberation in what he was doing. He was trying to elbow him in the head, knee him in the head.
The fact that he was kneeing already, that's a very penalisable action. And the fact that more so that it was in the head is something we totally want to get rid of.
Yeah, this is, after all, rugby, not WWE.